Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a chat with Josh. He's a US Army veteran, combat. He served 8 years, and 6.5 of those years was on deployment. He came back with some pretty bad mental health issues. So we're going to have a chat with him about his struggles, his triumphs, and how he's gotten out of such a dark place. So sit back, enjoy. Hope you learned something from this video, and let's get into it. So Josh, welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming on. Can you give a short description of yourself for my viewers for me?
Yeah, my name's Josh Foster. I'm a combat veteran, U.S. Army. Was in for 8 years. Now I still work for the U.S. government in capacity, but not in combat related situations or anything. Just a government civilian.
Cool. Well, from an Australian veteran to you, thank you for everything you did in the service and what you still do. So it takes a lot. I understand some of these struggles that we have to go through as military personnel. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
So what did you do in the military? What was your main role?
I was infantry.
Infantry. The good old
Ground soldier.
parts.
Yep.
Yeah, I was an aviation medic, so I didn't walk much. I flew around choppers and picked people up. So, but we always need those boots on the ground. So, yeah, no, it was good. Did you go on any deployments?
Yeah, I went to a couple. My first deployment was actually a non-combat deployment. I went to Kosovo early on in my career. And then after that, I went to Iraq, did 13 months in Iraq, down in, started off in Iskandaria, and then went over to Fallujah the later half of that deployment. And then we went to Afghanistan. I did 16 months there in Afghanistan, up in the Kandahar region, Korangal, Nuristan areas. Then after I got out, I actually went back as doing some contract work, doing biometrics and counter IED stuff. So I went back to Iraq for 26 months and then did another year in Afghanistan. So about 6.5 years deployed.
Wow, that's a lot. I see that all the time with you guys over in the States. Like you do a long stint. Like over here, when we get deployed, you know, it's usually between 6 and 9 months, and then
Yeah.
we're home. So you guys can go for a year, 2 years at a time. That's insane. That must be tough on you and the family.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, and a lot of the times, like in Afghanistan, we thought we were going to be there for a year. We had guys go home, and then they're like, "Oh wait, you guys got extended," and they had to get back on a plane. I was like, at least for me, I was still in country. For these poor bastards, they went home. They do the homecoming with their family, and then it's like you get ripped back away, and you kind of get thrust back into it after your mind had already processed being out of it. So, but that yeah, it's very commonplace for us to do some longer deployments.
Yeah. So how does that go with your mental health being away for so long, and especially as a combat infantry, you're in the middle of it, pretty much day in, day out. How did that affect your mental health?
Yeah, it was rough. Yeah, I've actually been diagnosed with PTSD, anxiety, and depression, which has caused other issues like insomnia, things like that that just compound on top of it. Especially, there was a time frame. Obviously, as I said, I continued on after I got out of the military, right, and started doing some contract work and the counter ID type stuff. Well, when you're doing that type of stuff, it used to be very frowned upon uh, for your security clearance if you had any kind of mental health conditions. So for a lot of us, we didn't report it, we didn't deal with it properly. We did the wrong things. We drank, we fought, we you know and kind of muddled our ways through that aspect, and a lot of people get in some real dark places. Fortunately enough for me, I did drink and fight, but didn't go down the path of any drugs or anything like that. Working kept me kind of more on the straight and narrow of that aspect. But still, you know, day in and day out, you still fight, especially with the anxiety. I think is one of the bigger ones. Is you're always hyper vigilant. You were you were most people use fight or flight for a small portion of their life. Only you're only in danger so much in a regular existence, and like you said, you're doing it day in and day out, so you're always turned on, you're never turned off. And when you do that for so long, for so many years, your body and your mind just gets so used to it that it doesn't want to turn it off, and you don't know how to turn it
off. Yeah. Well, so I kind of understand. Like myself, I'm diagnosed with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and adjustment disorder too. But mine relates to a car accident I had to deal with over in Timor when I was deployed over there, and my patient didn't make it.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of friends who are grunts, and out on the front lines out at Afghanistan and Iraq that, I can't, even though I'm going through this, we got the same diagnosis, but it's totally different at the same time. So, I feel and I can understand, why you guys did that, where you just come home and, you don't want to talk about it because, that can affect your career. So you start drinking, and then, those fights come out because you're bottling up everything inside. And when you get drunk, everything just gets released, get angry. And yeah, so I'm glad that, I'm assuming here, because you haven't said it, but you're doing all right now. Like you're coming out of that part.
Oh yeah, really. So back when I was in, I divorced once, and then I didn't marry back until I got out of the service. When I married my current wife, it brought a lot of perspective back. She had a daughter, so marrying someone who had a daughter, it brought a lot of responsibilities back, and kind of grounded me and pushed me to do the things I needed to do, which involved going to therapy and talking to people and realizing ultimately that, hey, you can't go drink every night. You can't go to the bar and fight. I was actually stabbed in a bar fight once. I mean, we went out and we were rowdy, and it was rough. And so, I kind of left all that behind, fortunate enough, and started seeking help. And then trying to figure out ways to better myself, because, like I said, I got in a pretty dark place. And then you compound on top of that, being infantry, our bodies are shot, they're damaged. And I was suffering with back issues and just kind of chronic pain. Well, when I finally went and had it looked at, I had a compression fracture in my T7, and then a bilateral pars defect in my lower back, and degenerative back disease. So I was pretty damaged. So I started to put on a lot of weight, which, if you're already depressed and you already have anxiety and you already have sleep issues, it, it's just really horrible for your body, and your mind and your mental state. And then you add on top of that all of the injuries and the pain, and I was in a really, really bad place, really tough spot. Uh, Fortunately enough, I had a buddy who just happened to reach out to me. He's a friend. We were friends childhood. He reached out to me on Facebook and he said, "Hey man, I'm worried about you." You know, so he just hit me up. We started talking, and he's big into fitness. He's like, I know you just had surgery on your back. He's like, but let's get you into a fitness program. Let's get you losing weight. Let's focus on that aspect of your life, make one thing better, and then maybe that will pile on and help start putting things back into place. So it's about 2 years ago, I had the back surgery. And then we started doing stuff. Obviously I wasn't going to go out and just start throwing weights around and doing, all that stuff. So he put me on a diet. It's about, 80-20 split, eating 80% healthy, good food, 20% just kind of eating what you normally eat. You don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to break the diet because you're, and that started to help. I started losing weight pretty quick. And as you do that, you just start to feel better. You feel better, you look better. So I started adding exercise in a little more, and just doing a recumbent bike. He told me, he's like, you love watching football. He's like, put your bike in the middle of your living room, watch a football game, just pedal while you're watching a football game. And it was little things like that, and I did it, and then I started riding for hours, and ultimately I lost 115 pounds.
Oh wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So and that became my passion. And after that, it was like having a passion and having something again to take hold of just help kind of evaporate the anxiety and the pain and the depression, because now I'm doing something every day. I'm doing something positive. On top of that, I've got people every day calling me like, dude, what are you doing? How do you do this? So now I'm helping other people.
Excellent.
So yeah, it takes you from, one extreme to the other. And now, by doing that, by having something that I really believe in, that I feel good about, and you set new goals every day, it's never stagnant. After I lost the 115 pounds, I decided, let's see what we can do. Let's put our body back through the motions and see. So, I started doing kind of more of the powerlifting regimen, and my back is solid. I was benching or squatting 500 pounds the other day in my basement. And I'm like, I never thought I was going to be able to do this again, so it's just this stuff that it brings you peace. That's why I say is every day when you have anxiety and depression, is, it's a battle, and it's about facing that battle and fighting that battle and taking it head on. And when we were soldiers, that's what we did. We fought it. We didn't retreat. We pushed forward. We took it to the enemy. When you have PTSD and anxiety and you don't know how to deal with it, it's constantly pushing forward and you're constantly retreating.
Yeah.
And if you don't have any outlet or any way to fight it, you're going to lose the battle. And that's what I found for me, I guess, that works. Is this is how I'm winning the battle, is I'm facing it head on, and I'm, basically took control back of my life and said, this is my field of battle. This is where I'll fight you every day. And I kind of contain it there. And it's helped tremendously, as far as how I interact with my family, how I interact at work, and how I deal with people in general. I'm just more positive, more back to where I used to be, and not feeling like that asshole hermit who doesn't want to associate with people, so.
That's amazing. I know exactly what you're saying. I've been suffering with my mental health probably for 7 years now. And I let my body go. I had injuries to a shoulder, 2 operations on it. My knees started playing up, my back started playing up. So I let my weight go. And I was always focusing on my mental health. I was one of those ones where I always put my hand up from the word go, because as a medic, I knew, what was happening. I understood what was
Right.
happening. Um, it was still hard to deal with and to treat. So, but I was just focusing on my mental health. I was seeing psychiatrists, psychologists. I was doing all these different programs just to help my mental health, but I neglected my physical health and my you know, so it was I was getting better, but then as I put more weight on, then I'll have those couple of steps back, and
Yeah.
I wasn't facing the problem as a whole. I was only focusing on my one problem, that was my mind. And now, like last, I think I'm in my 8th week now of working out 5 days a week and eating healthy. Like before, like 2 months ago, if you looked at my diet, it was McDonald's, it was KFC, it was, just crap all day. Then I'll have like a good meal at dinner time with the family, but, it was bad. And now I'm working on my fitness. My mental health is better than it's ever been. I don't have anger outbursts as much. That's one of my symptoms is real anger outbursts.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing physical, just verbal, and but that's gone now. I wake up early. I'm not sleeping in. I'm getting up at 6 o'clock every morning, having a good breakfast. Taking care of how I look, and it's finding that my mental health is better now doing that stuff than when it was when I was just focusing on my mental health. It's awesome, and you just iterate that, and I was getting chills, like literal goosebumps when you're talking, because I'm just like, I know exactly what this guy is saying. This is really good. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, you look amazing. I've been watching your Instagram and stuff. You're doing a heck of a job. But yeah, and I think, like you said, you knew the mental aspect of it, right? You knew what was going to happen, but you got to look at it holistically. You gotta tie it all together, because it's so huge, mind and body. Um, you know, if they're not in sync, if they're not in tune, one's going to play against the other, and you're never ultimately going to be happy. So yeah, it's exactly what you said. It's you can do one and start to climb the ladder, but eventually it's gonna drop off if you're not doing the other. So yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's really good. So, what else other stuff have you done for your mental health? Like, obviously, we've talked about the fitness and all that. With mental health, like you said, you're seeing counsellors. Is there any programs that you've done in the past to help with your mental health?
So most of the counseling I did was one-on-one. It, just with work, it's hard to get into group sessions and do stuff like that. But one of the other things I did, and I feel is huge for me, is volunteer work. That's another one of those things that you know you get out there and you're helping other people. And here in the States, and they're kind of worldwide now, and they're growing. There's a group. It's disaster recovery, disaster relief. It's called Team Rubicon. Um, and basically the concept is having veterans serve again. So, it was a group of Marines. They got together. They formed this group for disaster relief. And they let you volunteer and go on different missions to help. If it floods somewhere, you go and you do muck outs. You clean out the houses. You do mold prevention and remediation and stuff like that, and same with tornadoes and hurricanes. So you get to serve your community again, and you get to serve people who really need your help. And that for me is another one of those things that you know we were always about service. We were in the military. That's what it was, and to be able to go out and serve your community again, and knowing that, you're not fully there. You're not capable of doing what you were doing before, but to be able to, in some capacity, still go out and serve your community and help. That was big for me. And that's a big part of their mission is helping veterans, get back into the groove of things and get back into serving their communities. So, doing that kind of volunteer service and charity work was big. And one of the things that I really lacked is because of how I felt and how, the anger issues and stuff, I wasn't as social, so now connecting back with people from the military and doing stuff like that is also big. Talking to people who've been there with you, who were there and who face similar situations and have also recovered, or are doing very well for themselves. Surrounding yourself with good people, not people who are going to, tear you down or keep you where you're at, but people who are going to try to put you, back up there and every day tell you, hey man, you're doing a killer job. You're doing great. Keep it up. Surround yourself with those people. Don't surround yourself with the yes men that are always going to tell you, never going to tell you you're doing something wrong, because obviously that'll put you back where you were. But you got to surround yourself with people who want to see you do better.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So we have something similar here. It's mates for mates. So it's pretty much exactly the same. They have little hubs all over Australia, and you go in. They look after anyone that's serving or ex-serving that has either a physical or mental injury. And you go in, and it's pretty much just like when I first got out. I moved away for a year from Townsville, which is North Queensland, and I had no help, had no support. I went pretty dark that first year. Pretty much didn't leave the house. Just played video games till 3 o'clock in the morning. Slept till 11. Got up, played video games again. And once I moved back to Townsville, to where my parents are and some of my lifelong friends that I've known for 25 years, my dad took me in because he's a veteran too. Took me into Mates for Mates, and it was just like I was back in the army again, but without all the shit and the crap that we dealt with in the army. But all these guys are veterans. All these guys have mental health issues or physical issues. And, they've been doing it for 10, 20 years. And, they're going, they're really good at their recovery. And, you lean on them and you learn from them. And, you can see that, okay, this isn't the end. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We can do this. And, it's that camaraderie, that brotherhood that it was awesome. So I'm glad that you guys got something over there for it too.
Yeah. Have you found, because I have too, is as I'm going and as I started to recover, even if I have a fallback, it's easier to pull yourself back out of the depression and out of the anxiety, because now you kind of have those tools and you have that pathway that this stuff provides. So that's why I always, I'm a big proponent now of going to see a psychiatrist, psychologist, because before I had that, man, I was there. I didn't know what to do. And now you have these steps in these, there's a clear path back. You know what you got to do. So if you're like, if you get in that slump, which, especially here, I know you guys you're not plagued with the winter problem that we have here with the snow and the darkness. It's you go into work, it's dark. You come out of work, it's dark. It's cold. And sometimes that, you don't get to go outside. So that depression starts to set in. But now it's like, how to navigate, it's a frame of mind. It's taking those steps and finding that path and and these organizations, they're so huge in helping you do that. And I found that because of what they've taught me and what I've learned, that it's so much easier to get back on course, even if you fall off a little bit.
That's it, and I fully agree. And one of the things when someone asks me about my mental health, I kind of explain it a bit like it's like alcoholics. Okay, if you are like a full-blood alcoholic, and then you go to AA and you get clean, you're not cured from being alcoholic, because as soon as you pick up that drink, it's going to start again. So that's why alcoholics won't touch alcohol again, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense. But so I reckon it's similar with us with the mental health. Like once we got the PTSD, depression, anxiety, and all the other ones, bipolar, schizophrenia, OCD's part of it, ADHD.
Yeah.
We're going to have them for the rest of our life. It doesn't define us, but it's part of us, and we can never get rid of it. But with all these, seeing counsellors and building up like you said, tools. We use the same over here. We call it a toolbox. Put as many tools in your toolbox, and I've learned hundreds of different ways to help bring me back from anxiety or depression. Whether it's breathing exercises or grounding techniques and stuff like that. Some don't work for me. It's just me. Like meditation, I can't sit there with my eyes closed and think. Like for me, meditation is sitting down looking over my property and just taking everything in. That's my meditation. So there's so many tools out there. Whether they all work for you, it won't. Some won't work for some people, but it's to build up the tools that will work for you and then practice them. Like I said, I've been doing mine for 7 years, and I've been learning new tools, and I still learn new tools, and I always have them, and I have my bad days, but those bad days used to last a week. Now they might only last an hour or a day at the most, and then the next day I'm back into it. So no, it's really good. So, and that's why I'm doing this channel, and talking to people like yourself to let people know that they're not alone. Because a lot of people suffering from mental health think they're in it alone. They got to fight it alone. They're by themselves. When really, if you're thinking like that, you can't win. You need the help from professionals, or just have a support network. Like I've been building heaps. I've got my mates that I've known for ages. I've got the organisation Mates for Mates. Now I've got the Beard Struggle. Those boys that I've been meeting on there, they've been unreal. And if I have a bad day, I can just get on Instagram and just message them and say, look, this is what's happening, and they're there supporting, and it's amazing.
Yeah, it's big, and I think as unfortunate as it is, there's still that stigma around mental health, and if you say, you have one of these problems, or you have a symptom of the problem, that something's wrong with you, and then people are going to think something's wrong with you forever. And again, especially in the veterans community, if you say you have PTSD, is all you see on TV is John Rambo going and shooting up a town, and it puts off that bad vibe, and people kind of fear going and getting help because they think they're going to be perceived in a different way. And it's like, if they would get out of their own heads, they would see that they're being perceived that way because they're not going to get help, and they're actually causing themselves to look more in a negative light, because they're doing things, they're being jerks, they're starting fights, they're drinking too much, they're not upholding what they should be doing as citizens, they're not going to work, they're not doing these types of things. And it's all because they don't want the stigma of having a mental health issue, but by not going and getting it treated, they're actually living a lower quality of life than they are if they would go get something or go seek help. So
yeah, I fully agree with that statement. So the stigma, it's still bad. I think it is getting better. Like I can see a lot of my friends that used to be like that and feel that way, and barely spoke to me, now they understand what's happening. I think that's a big thing about, and especially with us, fearing what people are going to think of us. Those people that think those thoughts, like, there's something wrong with us, we're violent, we're dangerous, we're crazy, I think it is just they do not understand what's happening. And until people like us come out and say, look, this is what's happening, and change their perspective on it and their understanding on what's happening, the stigma will stay. So I'm hoping, these videos go out and help people, and people can understand what we go through on a daily basis and what helps. And, in my darkest hours, I can put down exactly what pushed me over the edge, where I was getting suicide thoughts, and that is comments on, it's just in your head, or man up, just get over it. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. And
it's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal. We all get sad some days. Like, all the times I nearly were on rock bottom was from comments from them.
Yeah.
Now I think I've grown enough where they don't affect me as much. I pretty much just laugh at them now. It's like, okay, mate, you really don't understand what's happening, but if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. I don't want to hear it. I'll have a good day. See you later. So,
Right.
What's the worst thing you've heard that someone said to you in regards to your mental health?
It's basically always the one that always gets me is it's not that big of a deal, and especially, like you said, along the same lines as we've all been there, and it's like, no disrespect to you, but we haven't all been in the same place.
Yeah.
You may have been in a bad spot, or you may have had a bad situation, but some of the situations I've been in are pretty bad, and when your brain gets locked in combat, it's locked in combat. It's hard to fight your way out, and those images just stay there. So for people to say that it's not that big of a deal, or you're being a pussy, or whatever, what have you, that's the kind of stuff that always knocked me. So in that, those are the thoughts I think they're very detrimental, is downplaying somebody else's issue,
Yeah.
because we don't know what they're going through. And even if we were in the same situation, we were in the same combat area, your body handles things different than mine does.
Yeah.
And especially, like, I look back in my first combat deployment, I was 21. My second combat deployment, I think I was 24, 25. And I look at the 19-year-old kids, and I'm like, they were coming out of high school. There's no way that when we got into a firefight, their body was reacting the same way mine was.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't sit there and tell them, to man up or to do, because their mind and their body are in a completely different space than mine were at that point in time. So those are the kinds of things that I think are very detrimental. And even coming from inside our own community, the military community, you'll see that sometimes. And it's like, well, we've got to take a step back and look at this, because these are literally kids. Their frontal cortex isn't fully developed yet.
No.
And we're putting them in the worst possible situation you could ever put them in, and expecting them to handle it the same way a grown adult is, who's had multiple years of combat experience, or at least multiple years of training, and you're not going to react the same way. So those are the ones I think are very detrimental, is just downplaying other people's mental issues, because we're all different.
Yeah, and I fully agree. Well, like I said at the beginning of the video, like, you and me got pretty much the same diagnosis, but yours is from combat, mine's from treating, and not combat. But I can't understand fully what you go through. I have empathy, and I can kind of, as a medic side of it, I can kind of understand what's happening. But I would never know fully exactly what you go through or anyone else goes through. It's amazing. One of the other things that like I've heard some other people when they're talking is, you know, they, like you said, downplay how someone else is feeling, and you know, going, okay, well, yes, I can see what you've gone through, but I've gone through worse, and you know, we need that understanding, and then just a normal conversation backwards and forwards, like what we're doing here. Two different people, two different, you know, areas of the military, but I know you've probably seen worse than me. I know that for a fact, but you haven't thrown that in my face, if that makes sense. Like you haven't said, "Oh yeah, you have PTSD, but mine's worse than yours." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. And that goes, back to it. It and this is, I've had this conversation too, because there's times we talk about you have people who were, say, in Afghanistan, right, and they were on a large base,
Yeah.
and they didn't get attacked as much. They weren't out there on a daily basis, but they still come back with PTSD. And people are like, oh, well, they weren't in firefights. And it's like, it's not only the action, it's the fear of that action. It's the constant being on edge. You don't have to be in a firefight every day. Actually, if you're in a firefight every day, your body gets a little more used to it, and the fear level, kind of goes down. If you're only shot at every once in a while, each time it happens, especially if there's time between it, your body's reacting newly the whole way. So, and that, again, I'm not a doctor or anything, but that's just the way I see it. And it's like, so again, to downplay somebody who lived on a base like that and was only hit every once in a while, it's like, in my mind, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, just like working out. If I bench press 200 pounds every day for 30 days, it's going to become easier.
Yeah.
If I bench press 200 pounds this week and I bench press 200 pounds next week, and then 2 weeks later I do it again, each time it's going to be just as hard, because I'm not building that repetition. I'm not building that muscle memory. So, to say you only saw it once or you only did this is, again, downplaying how somebody else feels about a situation, because you went through more, and going through more may actually help you in the long run in certain ways. So, again, it's all perspective, and that's why I don't believe in downplaying the stuff and saying, like you're a medic, and I always tell people, always have, medics are my favorite people. So yeah. I don't want to go anywhere near combat without a medic. But to say that I was in a firefight but you only saw a casualty, that's a huge deal. Yeah. In any situation, especially when they're catastrophic casualties, and it would be ludicrous for me to sit back and say, well, you weren't on the ground when it happened. It's like, no, man, I wasn't, but here I am as, trying to treat this or trying to do this. And I'm 100% invested in saving this kid's life. And I kind of feel it's my fault they didn't make it. This is my sole purpose, my sole job. So I could never downplay that, because what you guys do is amazing. And for me, it's just truly, it's hard in every situation that it's there.
Oh, cheers, mate. You broke me.
Sorry.
No, it's good. Like these are good tears. It's just I thought I've been doing really good, but I have to admit I haven't actually heard anyone really say anything like that for a long time. So it really got me in the heart there, Josh. So thank you. Sorry about this.
Cheers. No, man, that's why we're here. It's what we're doing.
Okay.
So I think like what you're doing is amazing. This is huge, and hopefully like you said, it gets out there, and you know, you're helping me, whether you're helping 100 people or just me. That's what it's about, right? You touch
Yeah,
one person one day, you did it.
that's it. As long as one person watches my videos, that's a win for me. So, before we finish up, is there anything else you want to let people know out there that are suffering from mental health, or around people that are suffering from mental health?
Yeah, first thing, for those who are going through it, get help. You're you're not alone. There are communities of us out there. If you don't want to go to a psychiatrist, you can't bring yourself to go to a psychiatrist at first or a therapist, go seek out a group in your community, whether you're a veteran who's been in combat, seek out one of those groups, or if it's anything else. There are more people who suffer from mental health than just us, obviously. So, but there are organizations within your community, your churches, places like that you can go, that you don't have to go to a therapist or a psychiatrist, and there are people who are trained to help you. Go seek help. If you have someone who is having issues that or that you're around, talk to them. Don't let them suffer. Don't let them think that they're alone. If you see they have an issue, and you don't have to say, hey, I know you're effed up or you're messed up, but hey man, how you feeling today? You doing all right? You doing good? That's what got me. Somebody from my past reached out to me and said, hey, I'm worried about you. Okay, let's get together, let's talk, let's start this channel of communication. It changed my life. And he wasn't a doctor, he wasn't a psychiatrist, he was a friend. And that's all it took. So reach out, talk to your friends, talk to your people, let them know you're there for them. It's massive.
Cool. Thank you. Great message to end it. And, Josh, thank you for sharing your story and, making me cry. But, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. And thank you so much.
Thank you for doing what you're doing. Again, this platform's amazing. Keep it up. Look forward to seeing more of your videos.
Will do. Thank you, Josh, for sharing your stories, your dark times, and how you're coming through at the end. Um, you broke me there, but they were happy tears, and I really enjoyed our chat. So, guys, please take away the message that Josh has said. If you're having problems, speak up. Okay, guys, we're not in this alone. We can win this together. Okay, guys, until next time, stay safe and look after each other.